We're really excited. I'm really proud of our team. Our guys have matured tremendously through the season. We put them under an incredible schedule test. We had some ups and some downs, but we learned in each of them. And so we learned to win early, which I think, at Duke, which helped us. And then so at the end of the year, we look like a very mature, prepared team. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our guys. And I think it culminated in Norman with the win. And so very proud of that. And we look forward to, representing Alabama and getting after an opportunity to win another national and play in another national championship, win one.
Coach, you just mentioned that you learned to win early. You won your first tournament of the season. But both guys just mentioned Cabo and kind of a meeting they had after that tournament. Maybe at what point this season did you realize this team could be something special? Was it before the season even started? Was it that first tournament? Was it the way you saw them respond after Cabo?
I think a combination of all that. I think the importance of, we had a poor year last year. And so when we won at Duke, it just added an energy to our team. You could feel that we went ahead and that was a complete flush of the year before, the disappointment. We didn't have to, it was kind of like this year has its own year. And so I'm really proud of that. But I do agree with the guys. Cabo was probably the biggest turning point. We didn't play very well. It's a great tournament, has a great field, and we just didn't play very good golf. And the meeting afterwards was, I thought, very good because we didn't panic. I think I always like to talk in truths to our guys, and our truths we're very good. Our stroke averages, our team, our play, everything we've done was good, and the guys responded well to it. And then the next week we looked at the best teams in the country in the eye and beat them at the Linger Longer. So something happened after that week, and I think that week, I think we stayed focused on what the thing at hand. And then winning the next week definitely gave us the confidence to continue. And we had the lead at the SECs in stroke play and played, a number one Vanderbilt all the way to the last hole in every match, 4 of the 5 matches. And so I think all of those things helped us do what we did last week.
Just talking to Cannon, he seems really confident in this team and the mix that y'all have and just the way they've been performing lately. What kind of qualities do you see in this team that you've had in some of your national championship teams that this is a team that can compete for a national championship this week?
Yeah, we actually just talked about it in our meeting. They have a calmness about them. I think when you're confident, you're calm. We don't have long meetings. We don't have we need to do X, Y, Z or whatever. I think you have those type of meetings when you got a lot of things to figure out. I think the biggest thing when you're building a team in any sport is trust. And they trust each other. They trust each other in the adversities of Cabo. Everybody had them. We came back. And then the adversities of the SEC, the hurt of losing to Vanderbilt, how they worked. I think most preparation is not necessarily reps of prep. It is how do you prepare. And so I think they've learned to trust each other, and it's given me a great calmness because when players start taking the lead, coaches can then do what we do best is get out of the way and let players play.
Cannon just gave a lot of credit to the freshmen. How much has Nick and Grizz kind of been vital to the success of this team and kind of getting Alabama golf back to kind of what it's used to?
Well, they're good players. They have a lot of they were high-end talent. It was the number 1 recruiting class in the country. So they obviously bring great skill. Nick was a little more prepared for college than Jonathan. Jonathan's been a little bit more of a progress for a freshman, but Nick's desire to win, to do great things, but more than that, he really has been a great team player. Has taken on a really good, even though he's an alpha, he's taken on a good subservient role to a certain extent with Cannon in leadership and Thomas and JP, but there's an energy about him, about winning, that really got infectious the first week. And I think that's what helped in the maturity of a Cannon who had that. We didn't play well. And if you're not careful, the habits of things that don't go well can be just as habit forming as things that do. And so I think his positive and winning attitude had an immediate impact. And then Jonathan is just such a good young man and has been very coachable. As I said, it's taken a long time for him to maybe get comfortable in the new environment of Alabama. Had a little bit longer, he's from South Carolina, further away from home. But as soon as he hit the, everybody never lost faith in him. Everybody was patient in him. And as soon as he kind of got it, SECs, I think everybody started going, that was the last bit of trust with his solid play at the SECs. And then in turn, we won the tournament because he shot a bogey-free 66 under the highest of pressure at the regionals. And so I think his coming out party was that last round. And that really kind of was the final, I would say, trust factor as we get ready to head to Phoenix.
And then just kind of to wrap up, you mentioned, Jonathan's performance at regionals, but overall, what's just kind of been clicking for this group the last couple of weeks at SEC season and regionals to have the success y'all have had and will hopefully carry into nationals?
Well, I think they've, as a core group, from a coaching staff to the players, we had a plan. We've always expressed what that plan was, and they're comfortable. I think it's why after Cabo we were successful, which we talked about earlier. We didn't deviate from it. We didn't think we were doing something wrong. As I promised them on week one all the way to now, we've had the same conversations. They've believed in them and they've made them their own. And this team has its own identity. I think it's the first time that a team, in a long time has had its own identity and not had a shadow of what we've done in the past, which I think is a big step. Everybody has always looked what we've done before, and we've always tried to have, this year's team, whatever it may be. But that shadow has been pretty long from me all the way down, and so this team created its own identity. And I think that's probably the key is, we'll see how we play next week, but we won't play poorly because the arena's too big. We may play poorly because golf's a hard sport, but this team has come together, has its own identity. It has its own leadership. And it's the first year, probably since 14, I've not heard one person on a team talk about other teams in the past.
Wow. I think I'm good. Thank you, Coach. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for coming, being part of
it. Just real quick for me, for my needs, talk about the course itself. Have you been out there? What's different about desert golf and maybe some of the courses you've been to? And also do you, Coach Potter playing out there last year, do you talk to him and stuff? So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Greyhawk's going to be a tremendous test. It's shown, it's its third, NCAAs where they actually competed. We had a COVID year, but it's the third one. If you look at scores, you can tell it's a great test. So our guys have actually all played it before in a junior tournament before, and we went on a trip out there 2 years ago. So 3 of the 5 have from this year's team, Cannon, Thomas, and JP all played, just a fun round as we went out there September of 21. So we all have an understanding of what it is. It's going to have rough, it's going to have hard and fast greens like championship golf, and then you add the desert part of it where you leave the fairway, you have to re-tee. And so I think the biggest thing is to get an understanding of, there's a lot of things. Weather meaning hot, dry, different climate than we're used to. However, Cabo's going to help us with that from a desert part. Then you have the style of golf. How far does the ball go because of the atmospheric pressures and things like that? We've already done a little bit we have some monitors to test that before we get there. And we've done that a little bit in Cabo also. And so I think the biggest thing is we know what the golf course is. We know what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to play a certain style. I think the biggest thing is commit to that style and don't let the adversities that happen in athletics, it doesn't matter what sport, don't get overreaction. When you play at the highest level, at the highest tournaments, you're a little bit more sensitive to adverse moments. And so I think it's going to be very important to be able to handle the adversities of a championship. Everybody's going to have them, understand them, and then overcome them as quick as possible.